Welcome back to Worth Weekly News. This week the dev server was open and we got to see what we assumed to be everything coming to this patch. However, data miners tell a different story. We'll get to that in just a second. Be sure to hit the subscribe button. So I'm going to go through this the same way I did on my stream, but it's going to be a bit more condensed than I did on my stream. And I'm going to sprinkle in random facts that came from the data mines, many of which happened. So starting off with the US, for tanks, they got the M1A2, which to put it simply is essentially an M1A1, but with heavily improved turret armor. The hull armor was the same, however many people dispute this, and also it was noted that the design of the M1A2 isn't actually just the M1A2 but the SAAB V1. I believe many different people talked about this, however I'm going to sort many miles away, which made a pretty detailed post on it on his Discord. But the easiest way to explain it is that on the back of the turret there's this big old box that's apparently an air conditioner, and that was only on the SAAB V1. Now what this entails is the performance supposed to be different than what it is performing in game? I have no idea. I'll leave that in the hands of whatever freeboo is dedicated enough to make a million bug reports that Gaijin never responds to. The only other major detail for this tank is that also it comes with a anti-helicopter round that is supposed to be like a proximity fuse of a sort, however it only explodes 400 meters away. The other things that US got was the USS Pepsi Cola, the US's first heavy cruiser coming in at you at 5.7, armed with 10 200mm turrets. Personally, I still feel the Brooklyn is still outperformed this vessel, as it has a better ability to put firepower out. Speaking of which, the US got another Brooklyn. It is the USS Helena, which is essentially a Brooklyn with less anti-air. It is a premium. I think you can buy it with Golden Eagles. I don't know. Gaijin kind of just gives me all the things, and I don't really get to see the price for the GE things, or if they're going to be packs. And honestly, I'm not sure if the game is ready for somebody to have two Brooklyns and a heavy cruiser in the same lineup. But another thing to take into account is that the premium is 5.7, yet the rank 5 ship is also 5.7. I'm hoping this implies that they have plans to increase the battle rating by adding larger vessels soon. It's also very possible that Gaijin is just trying to get money, and pay to win actually does pay. And that's it for the US. Next country, Germany. For tanks, they got the BMP-1, well, the East German BMP-1, which is very neat and all, but kind of odd because Germany doesn't have any light tank line. The tank itself, it's a BMP-1, as you'd expect. It does have the BMP-1P upgrade, so you can use the mouse aimed at ATGM. I have no idea if that's historically accurate. I really wonder though if this is going to lead to other East German vehicles added. Other things they got was two destroyers, the Type 1934A, which is your typical German destroyer, but only has 4 guns and is at 4.0, and the Type 1936B, which is your typical German destroyer, but has 5 guns and is at 5.3. As uninteresting as these additions are, it's nice to see some more German destroyers if you happen to be grinding the German destroyers out. Best part of all, to get the final destroyer in the German tree with the 150mm guns, you don't need to grind these out. These are on their own little branch. Next up is the USSR, and they got the BMP-3, which sits at 8.7 and is broken, and not in the good way, as it's kind of buggy. The 30mm cannon is also bound to the main shoot button that you have assigned, so firing your 100mm cannon shoots the 30 as well. So if you want to spray the 30 over, you have to continuously shoot your main gun, which is really annoying. And the other part that I feel like is really gonna kill this tank is its main 100mm gun has no AP shells. It has 2 ATGMs. However, at least on the dev server, it started out stock with only HE rounds, and it wasn't a high penetrating HE round either. I think it got like 30, maybe 40mm a pen, which you can be kind of sneaky with, but it's not enough. And the 30mm autocannon that you had also had the same issue, well, similar, as it started out with an HE belt, but I believe there was like 1 AP round in there, but that's going to be really hard to grind out to the first ATGM, which is luckily a tier 1 modification. If Gaijin does sort out these issues, it should be a pretty alright tank for an 8.7 battle rating. It has good speed. The second ATGM has, I think it was 750mm of penetration with an alright velocity, and the 30mm should be a really good backup for when you're out of ATGMs. But you do get 8 of them, so that probably won't be necessary too often. The other vehicles that Russia got you probably know of is the Ka-50, a helicopter that everyone is saying it's OP. Well, at least Mike Boom is saying it's OP, and he has a pretty good argument for it. Essentially, its ATGMs have a really long range and are able to lock lock onto enemy vehicles, meaning that you can easily snipe enemy tanks, but also aircraft, including helicopters. So helicopter EC will probably be irrelevant or extremely unbalanced. Whoever has more of these helicopters would win, essentially, is what they're getting at. Although this won't be the only helicopter with the lock-on feature, as helicopters armed with hellfires will also have it. This issue was brought up on the Russian side of the forums, and Keofox, the community manager over there, when he wasn't listening to Linkin Park and reading Japanese death poems, noted that we will separate, obviously. Or at least that's what a Russian dude said on the forums. And strangely enough, despite this not being the first time he was quoted over here on the English side, he actually came over to make a post saying, "This is an assumption, we will monitor the solution." Now there's definitely going to be an issue with these new 10.0 premium helicopters when facing other ones, especially the lesser ones or even the ones without ATGMs. So I'm going to go out on a limb and say we're definitely going to see two different forms of helicopter EC if Gaijin cares about the game mode at all. The other Russian helicopter to come is the Mi-28 something. This one's like the Ka-50 but with 50% less rotor. It can carry more ATGMs than the Ka-50 and its gun on the nose has a wider range of fire. However, it cannot load its landing gear up, so it is 0 out of 10 worst helicopter in game. The UK got the Vickers Mark 7. Finally, it is a 9.7, has I believe the same gun as the Challenger, and its armor kinda sucks. It is the dev server, so maybe they forgot some variables. I believe that happened to the production Ariete. So we'll have to wait and see till when the patch comes out. Some rumors are saying it's tomorrow. I'll get to this in a bit. It's nice the UK finally got a new top tier tank. However, this one a little lackluster. I was hoping for one with a L44 like everyone else has. Though I think the best quality of this tank, there actually is two, is one, the side of the turret is huge. So it's a good old canvas for making really weird memes with the decals. But also I'm pretty sure this vehicle could carry out many different guns. So it's possible that we'll see some other variants of it with different types of guns in the future. Final note about this tank is somebody had the bright idea to put the ammunition in the front of the turret. Now it looks like it's just the top part of two-piece ammunition, and I'm pretty sure APFS DS shells are not explosive. However, I'm not sure if Gaijin bothers to model that kind of stuff. And if something does penetrate all the armor, everyone in the turret's gonna die anyway, so you might as well. The other tank they got was the Centurion Action X. Sounds like a damn 1980s action film. Essentially, it's a premium Centurion. No idea what the cost in GE is because Gaijin forcefully gives me all of the new vehicles. Now, it does have a different turret. The armor values are typically the same. However, the new turret has some really obvious weak spots, which are probably why this thing is not a pack or in the tech tree. It's probably worse than the regular Centurion. However, not exactly by a whole lot. And if you just cover it by bushes, or I'm pretty sure most people won't even bother to check the armor values. But everything else is the same. Chassis, gun, ammo, all that stuff. Next up is the Hunter AGF-9, which is essentially a premium Hunter F6. Same loadouts and all, however, it has AIM-9s instead of Schwarms, whatever missile the F6 has. I don't know for certain, but I'm pretty sure the flight performance is also exactly the same, which makes this, I believe, the highest BR premium jet. Now, this edition made a lot of people think, I bet the Brits are gonna get something supersonic. And like an actual supersonic, not something that Gaijin claims can go supersonic, but it tears its wings at 800 kilometers an hour. Not sure who first found it, but according to my mod on Discord, there should be a British F4 coming, and a brand new premium Hunter is the perfect plane to grind it in. It looks to have the same loadouts as the US F4, so perhaps all that hinting towards a British supersonic wasn't for the English Electric Lightning, but actually this aircraft. It seems Gaijin has been warming up to the idea of copy-paste a whole lot more. At least it's not like premium copy-paste until we get to China. Last for the British is the HMS Belfast, a premium 5.7 battle rating light cruiser armed with 12 15cm guns. With this addition, you would assume, like the US, the British are slated to get a rank 5 heavy cruiser. However, they have not yet so far. For Japan, on the dev server, they had not gotten any new vehicles. However, in the files, there was a Sendai light cruiser armed with 740mm guns in single turrets. This vessel is a lot like the Kuma, so it would be kinda odd to give the other nations premium 5.7 light cruisers and give Japan a 5.0 light cruiser. It's also possible this will be an event vehicle in the future, or one of those strange vehicles that are just in the files forever. China got the ZTZ-96, coming in at 9.7, is a very cool looking tank. However, it functions a lot like the late Russian tanks. The cheeks of the turret are really protective, boasting up to around 700 at times. However, the gunmanlet area, while looking just like the cheek area, has hardly any protection at all. The front hull armor is also pretty good. However, the lower front plate is at a really exposing angle and easy to shoot. And the sides of the vehicle are also a huge weak point, just like the Russian vehicles. It has a autoloader with all the ammunition on a circle at the bottom, which ejects the turret if shot. As for its main gun, it starts out stock with Heat FS, and it's APFSDS round that you can research. 466 millimeters of penetration, so it's nothing really special. China also got a premium A6M20, Key 45, and Key 84 Co. These are all copy and paste and bought with Golden Eagles. Personally, I feel there are a lot better vehicles to add as premiums for China, though I have a feeling that China wouldn't get anything if it wasn't copy and paste, because Gaijin's a bit uncreative with the Chinese tree. Also, the flags of the Taiwanese and Republic of China vehicles has been changed to not exactly the Republic of China flag, but sort of like it. I guess it's a compromise. Italy got a new bomber, the BR-20M M1, which is a lot like the previous iteration already in the tree, but with higher caliber defensive guns. The loadouts seem to be exactly the same. Personally, I still like the prior one because its top turret is just too cool. The other thing they got is, of course, the A129 International helicopter. Well, it's actually not the International, it's the International's early prototype, armed with a 50 cal and no anti-air missiles. It is armed with hellfires, and I'm pretty sure it can lock on to things, like in the Ka-50. Not sure if it can lock onto aircraft like the Ka-50 can, and of course hellfires don't have the air burst that the Ka-50's ATGMs do. And that is unfortunately going to be the only helicopter that Italy receives this patch. It seems that they are going with the Japanese heli tree strategy of release a premium and then never bother release the actual tree. Onto the French, they got the AMD 35, not a processor, a armored car as a renew reserve, because their terrible penetration formula destroyed French low tiers. The CPU is armed with a 47mm cannon that could get some pretty good penetration for a reserve tank. It's also quite speedy and had no armor, so you might be able to take into higher battle ratings and get some meme kills. I hope to see a lot of other French armored cars. They had quite a few of them. Maybe this is the beginning of a bright future. The other tank the French got was the AMX-30 ACRA, which is essentially a French starship. Its main ordnance is a mouse-guided ATGM, as it actually doesn't have a gun but a launching tube. For an 8.3 tank, the penetration of the ATGM is pretty good, getting 800 millimeters. The tank also has a heat shell. However, it's not actually a shell, it's a rocket, and it's kind of trash, though I think it could be pretty funny to meme around with it. Besides that, the armor sucks, but it's an ATGM tank, and those never have any good armor anyways, and there's no stabilizer, but the ATGM is mouse guided, so you don't really need a stabilizer, just keep your cursor on point. The French also got the BR-693 AB2, which is not a robot, it's actually a early war 1.7 French bomber, armed with two 7.5mm machine guns and one 20mm cannon in the nose, actually a little bit below the nose, and if the crosshair is quite off, well, at least was on the dev server, really hard to aim with. Had one 7.5mm defensive gun and could carry 8 53kg bombs. The other aircraft the French got was an F-100. Performance-wise, I'm pretty sure it's the same as the US F-100. However, this one had just about no loadouts. It had some rockets and air-to-air missiles. When asked about this, Sim10AP replied, French F-100 is still work in progress at the moment. The final nation to talk about, yes, there is another one you may have forgotten, is Sweden, which they didn't actually have anything in the dev server for me to take out, so I kind of have to just go off the dev blogs on how these vehicles are going to perform. They're going to get some Finnish plane. I'm not even going to begin to try to pronounce that name. I think I can just call it the PY1. Was essentially a Finnish 109 armed with 250 cals and a MG151. Now if those are US 50 cals, I gotta say that's the best loadout an aircraft could have. Only thing I could ask for is maybe 4 more 50 cals. Looks like it'll be a pretty awesome plane, and it basically tells you that finished vehicles will end up in the Swedish tree. The other aircraft that we got a dev blog for them was the chonky J-29D, armed with 4 AIDN cannons and can carry a heck a load of rockets. Looks to me like it's going to be a great ground pounder. I can't say anything on flight performance though, as it wasn't in the dev server. And that's actually not all I have for Swedish aircraft. A viewer by the name of Blockhodge pointed out to me that in one of the data mines there were some bombs found, primarily the 120 kilogram SBM-71. These bombs were apparently only used on the SAAB 37 Vegan, which would fit perfectly for the Swedish supersonic rule. And I gotta say, it's pretty cool looking jet, so I'm very glad to find that there's something hinting towards it in the files. And finally, according to some random on the Reddit, in the files somehow connected to the French F-100 was a release date stating 2019-10-29. People assume this is the release date of the patch, and there has been other release dates found in the files for prior patches. However, they haven't always been 100% accurate. Sometimes they're a day late or a day early. And the pre-order packs for the PlayStation Store have not shown up yet. On the PlayStation Store, if you don't know, they can only be pre-ordered for 2 days prior until the actual release. So is it coming out on the 29th? I can't really say. Really, the only thing we do is wait and see. And I'm pretty sure that's all the information I have for you this week. Before I end the video, I first want to thank all my YouTube members: Adia Nawe Sukabliet, Mighty Peppers, Pointless Gunsinks, Perk You Up, Waffly Joker 6, and the Royal Rat. Thank you very much. To be a YouTube member, you gotta pay $5 a month by pressing that join button down below. You will get a unique Discord role. I'll read your name out here, and you'll see YouTube videos a little bit early. If you've liked this video, hit the like button. If you didn't like the video, do not hit the like button. If you want to see more, hit that subscribe button. I make War Thunder weekly news videos every Sunday when I'm not playing Hearts of Iron 4 for 12 hours. I stream War Thunder on Saturdays. I like to stream other games on Twitch on Friday. Currently, I'm doing a playthrough that hopefully won't end in disaster of XCOM 1. And I hope you have a good day. In the terms of bonus news, Steam sale?